They are mysterious people, revered by some, considered peculiar by others, and misunderstood by many. Long prosecuted for their beliefs, tens of thousands have been tortured and executed. They are the witches of Winterslow. They are often claimed or popularly believed to possess magic powers and practice the art of witchcraft. This is often associated with heresy, and origins of witchcraft could arise from pre-Christian or pagan cults. Hunts, trials, and executions of witches became common during the 16th and 17th century in Europe. Wicca, also called neo-paganism, is a revival of witchcraft for the 20th century. They are also claimed to be able to shapeshift into the form of cats in order to reach their victims. We have come to Salisbury to find out about the tale of Lydia Shears.
Right, my name is Norman Thorne. I've been here in this village for over 70 years, and this story is one that I've come across as a local historian, but it's a pure legend and there's very little evidence for it in the records. However, it's been repeated in many books, and this particular book is one written by a local author called Ralph Whitlock, who was a resident in Winterslow in his later life. And he wrote this in the 1940s. A less reputable inhabitant of Winterslow was Lydia Shears, who in the early part of the 19th century had a reputation for witchcraft. It is said that on moonlit nights she would accompany the local poachers in their expeditions after hares, and would walk about the fields striking sparks with a flint and steel. The hares would then sit up in surprise and would be shot by the poachers. For this service Lydia would receive payments in baccy and snuff, and if none were offered she would not go out, and then the poachers would not find any hares. A local farmer was keen on coursing. When he passed her cottage he would inquire whether he would find any hares that day, and she usually replied, "Oh yes, farmer, in the middle of that field." He always did too, but he always lost it as he came near her back door. The frequent repetition of this incident puzzled the farmer, who mentioned it to his friend the rector of West Titherley. The clergyman suggested melting down a silver sixpence into a bullet and shooting the hare with it when near the cottage. This the farmer did, and the hare toppled over. When he came to look for it, however, he could not find it. But inside the cottage he found Lydia dead upon the floor. A post-mortem revealed that the silver bullet was in her body. So died the last witch of Winterslow. Well, that's the story that he repeats. It's been written up many times in other books. Other authors have picked that story up. It was originally written by an author called Edith Olivier, who came from Wilton. She published the story in 1938. It was then rewritten in the Winterslow WI book in 1956, which has been reprinted many times. And of course the story has been taken up by other authors, like the one called Cecilia Milsom, who has written Tales of Old Wiltshire. The story goes round and round. Sometimes it gets elaborated more and more. There's not really much evidence for it as such, but it's just a story, and it's interesting that there are other villages with similar stories. For example, there's a village called Titcombe near Marlborough, which is actually has a similar legend. So it's interesting to find that the legend is one of the silver bullet, which seems to be pervasive in lots of folklore. So that's the story of the last witch of Winterslow.
Right. Well, Lydia Shears is somebody I've always heard about, right from when I was a knee-high to a grasshopper. My grandfather used to talk about her, but we've always thought it has been a legend or a myth. He's always said that she was a relation of mine, obviously of his as well. But I think a lot of legend has grown up about her, about being killed by a silver bullet and being able to transfer herself into a hare so she could assist the local farmers. But I have a family Bible which goes back to the mid-1800s, and there's no mention of her within that Bible, and it has been kept since then. So I'm not quite sure. It is, as I say, I think just a myth which has been perpetuated through the years, although there's lots of records of it in various Wiltshire records. Ralph Whitlock, who was a local historian, lived in Pitton. He's written a book about it. I think there is a lot written about it, but none of it's true, I don't really think. Well, the family history that I know about goes back to the early 1900s. But grandfather's father, that is to say my great-grandfather, was a number of several children, and most of them worked in the woods trade or were labourers. In fact, my actual grandfather was one of the head groundsmen in Clarendon Park, as it is now. Again, as a woodsman down there. Many brothers and sisters that he had, but I still can't really tie in Lydia with any of them, and I still think it is a myth as such.
I've heard many stories about the local witch Lydia Shears. I'm not one to believe in witches or ghosts, but this story is different. She's supposed to have lived nearby in Bentley Wood. I wouldn't go in there, and I know many other locals who wouldn't go either. I've been told by the farmer who owns the nearby land that he's been in a few times. He says there's a strange kind of eerie silence and all sorts of strange things scattered about the wood that don't belong there. I'm not sure what to believe, but I don't go in there, and I don't let my children go in there either.
We now have gathered the facts and have listened to the opinions of the Winterslow people. The myth still lies, but the Winterslow people do not. Leave now and never come back.
I think it's a myth, to be quite honest, and perpetuated by people who want to make a good story.